Hello, everyone. My name is JD Calderon, and this is Of Mice and
Wolves. Ow! This is the Comic Workshop show that helps creators workshop through their issues that they may be having in the comic book industry. And lately, there's a ton of them. So without further ado, let's get into some.
All right. What's up, Vaughn? Please introduce
How's it going? So, my name is Vaughn Coleman. I'm a writer. I'm an editor. And I am the creator and president of Rebel Oasis Studios. So that is me. I've got my book Phenomenova issue 2, which is crowdfunding right now.
All right, cool.
Very nice.
How you doing, Deece? Please introduce yourself, sir.
What's up, guys? I am Deece Casillas. My new book, Kill Stan, #1 is out now. #2, Kickstarter is running at the moment.
All right, cool. Mr. DM, please introduce yourself, sir.
Good to see everybody. Ray Jameson, also known as Dungeon Master Ray, writer and creator of the Madcaps.
All right, cool. All right, Rob, why don't you want to start it off?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We're going to go clockwise like we usually do. So that means, Vaughn, you are up, sir. What is your topic/issue that you would like us to help workshop for you?
I guess because obviously I don't want to know how to get more backers and whatever, but how to keep a consistent backer base. So it's not like creating and then just milking every bit out of backers. It's obviously a lot of work to promote, but how do you consistently put out quality work in a timely manner in the indie scene? How do you keep a consistent audience that's there?
Okay. Does anybody have any clarification questions? Deece, do you have anything for him?
I don't think so.
Okay. Ray, do you have any questions to kind of clarify what he's asking?
No, I think it's a pretty clear question.
Okay.
All right.
JD?
The only thing I can ask is what have you been doing recently to actually build a fan base?
So all right, so do you want me to answer that, or are we still?
You can answer
Okay.
this because we're asking you now the questions, and then we will come after the questions. We'll go back and we'll say what we think will help you.
Oh man, I mean all sorts of stuff. I've been talking more on Facebook groups, posting on Twitter and whatever socials I can, making shorts, email blasts, update blasts. I mean, that's basically what I've been doing lately. Going on God knows how many live streams. This is my second one today. Posting in every Facebook group I can. Those are the things I've been doing.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So you say like keep up the quality of work, right? So like what? I guess specifically, you mean like the quality of like the comic book work, or the quality of like your audience? I guess that's kind of where I'm like.
Well, yeah. So I guess what I mean, because that would be just kind of on me. But I guess how do I manage to keep? What I'm wondering is how do I manage to keep raising the money quickly while maintaining an audience? If that makes sense. Like people who are going to come back for issue to issue. I guess would be the tough thing.
Okay, and all right. Another question I have is, obviously are you doing the art, or you're just the writer, right? You're the writer. Okay, is your art? How quickly does your artist put out the pages?
All right, so I guess maybe I should have asked the question better. It's, my apologies, because I guess it's not so much that as because at the end of the day, even if I could get him, I could do projects in between. I would just need to have the money to hire the artist. So I guess my question would more so be, I guess, how do I get people that are like there and ready to back consistently?
Mm-hmm.
Because I see people do it that will like get so many books a year, and I'm like, how do they do it?
Okay. Do you want me to start answering that?
Yeah, I mean, if everybody thinks that's clear enough.
All right. There's a couple of real basic ones. One, I'll tell you that one of the real easy secrets to the way the way it works for me. I know you've seen I produce a lot of books every year. One, try to have a big pile of cash.
Yeah, that's the part I'm learning.
That's counterintuitive to make
right? I mean, you know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like years ago, like probably 14, 15 years ago, I walked into I owed someone about 5K, and they basically forgave it, right? And like, most idiots, or like, like most people like us, instead of putting that away to my retirement or going on vacation, I made a comic, and what I've been doing is just taking that same cash, going through Kickstarter, recycling that money.
Yeah.
Right. So it's constantly doing that. The other thing is the more Kickstarters you do, the more fans you're going to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you're going to find your base, right? Those people who really want to be there, those people who really want to buy your works. Right. And the problem is you just have to continuously put stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know that's the hard part, but you got to get there.
Yeah.
But that's why I said you got to start off kind of with a pile of cash to begin with. Because not everyone, like even those people who look like they just shot out the gate, like with 20, 30, 40, 50,000, dollars in a campaign. If you look at their histories, they've been on like one of these other, like they have a webtoon that's been on for like 15 years and they have like 2 million followers. You know what I mean? So it's like they put in that sweat equity. So from somewhere you got to get that sweat. You got to put in your own sweat equity.
That
sometimes
equity, if you will.
What?
Yeah,
Swag equity.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, sometimes that's what that is you have to. You got to get some. You got to put in the beginning. Like I know of some campaigns. Like one guy, he just started. And he's raising $14,000, $15,000, $20,000 per campaign. And I'm like, how did he do that? Oh, I said, that's right. For 6 months, he ran Facebook ads asking people to sign up. Right? Now, how much money did he spend on those Facebook ads? I guarantee you he probably spent at least $10,000.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Costs are crazy.
Right. So.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no easy answer.
Well,
I'm reminded
a lot
answer, and the honest answer is hard work. And
the movie Kung Fu Panda at the end when he gets that scroll and opens it up and it's blank, that scene comes to mind. There's no secret. It's just grinding it out and getting what you want and doing it the ugly way.
Mm-hmm.
Deece, do you have anything?
Yeah, how's your not Facebook groups, but like social media presence in general, as far as posting regularly on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever apps you use?
Gotcha.
Are you doing that regularly, or is that
posting on the socials? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I post all the time. I post in like I've been making it a morning routine to post in like every Facebook group.
When you say Facebook groups, what groups are you posting in?
Like a lot of indie comics ones.
Indie comic creator ones, or ones that are for indie comic collectors? Mostly indie comic creator ones, I assume, right?
Probably all of them, honestly.
So, I mean, in my experience, the indie comic creator groups are, I'd say, a waste of time. In my, to be completely frank, I mean, I've tried it. I've been there where you're at. Not to say I don't occasionally still, but for the most part. And I mean, I used to do music. I do stand-up comedy for a living. I've done all types of art stuff. Artists are really bad at supporting other artists. Super that, I mean, I scroll through all those groups all the time, and I just see posts with 1, 2,
not much reciprocation.
Right. No one gives a shit about what anyone else is doing. They're all too caught up in what they're doing. And it's unfortunate.
Unless you have a provocative interesting comment and then tie your stuff into it. That's when they were like, oh, that's interesting, kind of a thing. But then, even then, that's like, well, I'm still not going to back you.
Yeah, and it's like they're too caught up in what they're doing, and it's unfortunate because if everyone really did help promote and share around, it would be huge for everyone. Rising tides lift all ships and all that cliche stuff. But I would say you've got better time spent promoting that book. It's a physical book, I assume. Also, you have physical copies, Vaughn?
Yeah. I have physical copies here.
I mean, I would spend that time. For me, I've had way better luck hitting up any type of convention market. I mean, I've been doing day markets. I've been doing other collector shows, meeting people that way, getting them to follow me on Instagram, getting a book in their hand physically, going to stores, doing one-day events at a store, signings and things like that. For a lot of shops will let you set up a table on a Saturday, and you're talking to people who are already into comics, not people who are also trying to fill the same space you are.
Yeah,
like in those creator groups. I think you could that time could be spent marketing it just differently, maybe. Because I mean, I know I've been there. You start, there's 100 creator groups. You're trying to copy and paste all of them, and nobody responds at all.
Well, that's just it. Is the copying and pasting the same stuff doesn't work no matter where you are, whether it's a creator or whether it's a reader group, right? So one, the indie creator groups are where you get your networking, right? You want to get networking for artists, for colors, for whatever, for crossovers, whatever. You want to do that stuff. That's where you meet the people like us, where we got shows, where we cross promote each other inside of our backer updates, stuff like that. That's what the creator stuff is meant for. It's not meant to say you buy my book, because that's what nobody's doing that. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, they're just going to pass you on and move along. Whereas like reader groups, you also got to be a part of that community. You can't just dump in your link and say back my campaign. You got to actually have, you got to work those, So like, you take maybe one or two, talk about other books that you like, other things, get mutual interests. And then once you get something similar to your book, that's when you can slide it in under the radar and say, oh, by the way, I have a book too. It's blah, 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 blah. And then people are like, oh, that's so cool. And then like, share your like best image, right? Not the direct link or your page, like, put your best stuff when you get that opportunity, you want to get that up there up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some luck I've had is I've kind of cultivate a little community of, I don't know, 5 to 10 creators that you're close with, that post regularly and just kind of all pump up each other's stuff, like I've got a little group I'm in on Instagram where every day someone sends a post that they posted, everyone goes on and shares it, likes it, comments for the algorithm and stuff. So, and just everyone makes a tacit agreement to make sure they get in and be active in it. And at least helps it in the algorithm, helps it get moving to get in front of more people. And they're sharing it to an audience that is already looking for indie comics too, if it's one of their followers. So
gotcha.
So instead of like a scatter shot to thousands of people who don't care, send it to 10 people who do care and will take the time to help move it.
Okay, so take some time. So people who will take time for your work really is what you want.
Well, you gotta do it as well. Like like you were saying there, Deece, it's like one person at a time, basically. That's how you're winning everybody over.
I know.
Unfortunately, there's no like funnel where you can get them to all fall through your one comment. Unfortunately,
I've learned that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just one person at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it is, aside from paying for ads, like JD was saying, that's one thing you can do in the off season, if you will, when you're not on Kickstarter. Is for me, like I do a free issue number 1 of Nightwolf for email signups, and I run like it's like a $5 a day ad that runs, but it also it kind of boosts my algorithm before I'm launching, and then when I'm live, then I do another $5 one for the campaign. So what that does is it also keeps your organic traffic up, because Facebook's not gonna, like, you know, since you're paying them, you know, they're not they're like, okay, we'll let this guy go.
Like, I've noticed they do it deliberately. I'll notice I'll post an Instagram post that's related to my comics, no likes. I post something that's like me and my friends hanging out. Oh, there you guys are. Like my post. Gee, I wonder. It's almost like anytime something that could benefit my business is posted.
Well, they don't. So think about it this way: they want to keep you on their platform. They don't want, if you throw a link in there,
money off.
They don't want you to leave the platform.
Right.
So,
and it's the link that's doing it.
Yeah. You got to hide the link in the comments, and then you got smart to that where you got to bury it as like the third comment.
And you can't even use those words in the description either. You can't say link in the comments. You have to start like making it in a meme on the picture you're showing off, linking comments that you can't like copy and paste, and then putting it in the comments after.
You might be able to make a graphic out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or even just I think one thing I did, it didn't. I was like, oh, try this. Hey, where's the link? Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that may work. Sometimes people, if they don't see the link, then they kind of just like move on.
Yeah. Well, I tried that. It didn't. It was unsuccessful.
Just the graphic. Are you a robot? And put the box, but no check mark.
Yeah.
Link in the comment.
I think too, another thing that's helpful to kind of keep progress going while you're in between launches is, so I don't know if you have a website that you're selling your stuff through, or if there's other places, but again, if you don't have a website, I'd suggest setting up a website that you can sell your stuff through. Also put your stuff digitally on, like, Amazon, on what's it, Global Comics or Global
Comics. Yeah.
Global Comics, that's another one. Anywhere that you can put your name out there and people are reading it, that then they can kind of find you and get on your list. Or that's just kind of like income that comes in without you really having to do much. You just put it up there, and then it's kind of like as you put more and more, it kind of like builds as a secondary income that does it while you're sleeping. So, those are ways to make money outside of the campaign. Kind of like what JD said, putting more work out, even if it's not the same IP. Put out a different one. So, like for me right now, I have 3 different IPs that I'm rotating.
Because if you get one that maybe doesn't bite with people, I'm definitely going to do a Bad Girl book, because my hope is that, he has others. I actually like his writing.
Well, right. That's something. You'll have the people who follow you, but then you have to keep in mind too, don't hold your breath about everybody coming over. I mean,
right.
JD has a lot of fantasy stuff, but not everybody goes, and I have a lot of werewolf stuff, but like only 50% of my audience will back my Nightwolf and Snowpaw, where the other 50 is on one side and the other 50 is on the other side. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. Not everybody. Especially if you do cross genres. Now that's going to be a completely different story. So if you're doing like superhero book over here and supernatural over here, that's not
always gonna.
You might have like a 10% if you're lucky to come over.
No, I'm realizing it's tough, but
for my book, I have a lot of overlapping themes, but not intentionally. So we have comic books, obviously, medieval fantasy, the undead and zombies, and tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm part of a bunch of groups there. So I have a lot of opportunity to dabble into other groups. And that seems to be very useful for me. Whenever I share something, I usually do it weekly. I'm in so many groups, I have to divide it amongst 2 different days. And after a while, Facebook says you need to take a break. Literally, it just says you've got to stop. And it's really cool to see the feedback, because if I post on X amount of groups, go to sleep, wake up, and I've got like more like notifications than a 20-year-old girl on social media gets, just crazy, which is really cool. And all the links are involved in it. So the chances of them signing up and stuff is high. But for yours, Vaughn, yours takes place after World War III, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's a superhero coming of age superhero story set 20 years after World War III.
Have you considered looking into groups that are not necessarily, you're obviously not going to win over war vets, but like fictional wars or something in that genre? I don't know the word, but I bet you there might be.
History.
Yeah. I mean, I think they might be disappointed when they find out that the war is the backdrop to the story. And
Not necessarily. If you
Okay.
say that up front, some people be like, well, what would the repercussions be of a third world war if there were metahumans? What would that look like after the fact? Because that's a really cool question, just dropping that down.
Are you
Consider.
I was waiting. I wasn't sure if you were asking or if you were saying that's a question someone could ask.
I'm just saying it's just an interesting way of dropping it, like the elevator pitch, essentially.
Yeah, throwing a little bit of background, especially that's something that's intriguing like that, is a nice little hook.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's the tough thing is for like finding a way to expand the audience, pull people in, whatever. Like here's the thing: if I knew I could just ideally, I'd love to be able to know that when I print this amount, that I could sell this amount, even if they're not all on the campaign. But that's obviously. The harsh reality is realizing that's easier said than done.
Well, again, you just have to have more sales avenues besides Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm on
three campaigns right now.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was just at a con. I have a website. I'm a Global Comics. So I try everything. I can. So I'm hoping that.
Think about it this way too, though. So when you're not live on Kickstarter, how often are you actually pushing the book, or are you just kind of backing off of social media?
I push it. I mean, here's the thing. I basically, between issues 1 and 2, was me retweeting stuff of the first issue until here's the cover, sign up, and then we launched issue 2. So there has not been. It was back. Get it. You miss it. Oh, it's right here. It's still on my website. And then my hope is like between 2 and 3, because there'll be a longer wait time. I'll be building up my audience as best I can. So by the time 3 comes, there are people waiting for it.
Yeah, I think that you're on the right track. Then it's a matter of continuing what you're doing, but tweaking it.
Yeah.
Like we said, not so much hitting the creator groups as much as building up a reputation with the reader groups, and also, like I said, having an email builder with an offer like for your issue 1 that should help pull people in, because then that gives them a chance to read the book digitally and say, oh, you know what, I really like this. Oh, it's up to issue 3 now. Cool. So once they get on your email list, you should be making sure that like you have a welcome series that's introducing them to the series, not just waiting to send them the next newsletter.
You got
right.
it.
So you got to be priming that pump, right?
Also, Vaughn, you also have your first book is like 60 plus pages too, is it not?
Yeah.
So even just like 20 pages of it.
I have 10 pages.
If you want to read the rest, here it is for sale.
But
there you go. Perfect.
I have
That's
10
perfect
pages of it for free. You think I should do 20?
It might be like where an act leaves, wherever that number is. It doesn't necessarily have to be 20. You don't want to be like someone's in mid conversation and then rickroll them with don't even end the scene. Right?
Yeah. No, I'm not doing right now because that was automatically what it did in Global Comics. It kind of ended in a perfect spot where it's like, shining flashlight in a cave, goes, you guys want to explore it? And that's where
perfect.
That's what I have right now.
Yeah, the cliffhangers are always the best to draw people in.
Because technically, I could find any number of cliffhangers.
Whatever you think is the most compelling that has a little bit of meat.
The other another elevator pitch is the timeless notion of a son wanting to fill his father's shoes, which yours definitely has that from what you've told us before.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of interesting angles for you to promote accordingly. Like
Gotcha.
Father's Day is coming up. This kid wants to be like his dad, and anybody who likes their dad, check this out. Like weird things, like I shouldn't say weird, just unique. Is a better way to put it.
I try stuff like that all the time. That's that's one of the things is finding different angles to promote the same product over and over again. Like, for example, I have new Invincibles going out. I'm trying to capitalize on it to be like, hey, did you guys know you could read it on Global Comics? Well, while you're there.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, are you waiting between seasons? Well, I got just the thing for you. That's my that's what I'm hoping to do is or like if someone's like, man, I wish I was finding this, and if I could fill that void, there we go. Like that happened. Like, or even on like Twitter, there was someone who was complaining about like this woman was wearing not enough clothes in a video game, and I was like, hey, you should definitely not check out this comic right here. And then I put that
clickbait it.
Yeah, and then I got like hundreds of views.
So are you only doing it on Kickstarter? Do you also have an IGG running at the same time, or Fund My Comic? Or
I have IGG and Fund My Comic. IGG is crazy slow.
Okay.
But Fund My Comic is where I first launched. I did great on there. Almost 6,000. I'm at an annoying. I'm like 5,901, like 5,900, and I'm like, can you someone just push it? Like at least give me that. And it's like I've been just hovering over that 6K.
I've got the ultimate catch line for that: 99 problems, but a link ain't one because you're 99 bucks short. There you go.
There you go. That's the tough part. I have a bunch of So like, for example, Kickstarter is where I feel I'm lacking, and I know there's so much potential on that platform because it's the biggest. So I'm like, I should be getting bigger numbers on there, but it's because they don't know me because I haven't pushed out.
Started.
Well, I think too, like where you've been starting to build your audience. Obviously, you said you didn't do Kickstarter first, right? So you did Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
So your base right now is Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to think about that in a manner like, so as you're building your list up, try and put them in separate buckets. Cause like when you're emailing out, you're probably not going to get to pull them from one crowdfunding site to the other. So you need to start building up the reputation on the other site. If you want to like really boost up those numbers. And, again, that it all comes down to like when you're doing that email list and doing your freebie, do the welcome series. Cause then in the welcome series, you can be like, hey, do you prefer buying through retail shops? Do you prefer buying through Kickstarter? Do you prefer buying digitally through Global Comics? And then once, you could do like a survey in one of those emails. And, once they kind of, click that survey, you can then put them in that bucket. Right. Because then that can help you segment out to who you're sending to. Another nice thing too, and we often say this to a lot of people, if you haven't used BackerKit Launch, I'd highly suggest it, especially for your Kickstarter campaigns, because you can, now that you're up to issue 3, you can then email all of your past backers and hit them up one time instead of hitting all the updates, multiple times and sending the same shit to their inboxes.
Some of us have fun doing that, Rob, though.
So it sends out to all backers across all platforms.
So that's I think mostly. So you can take your backer list if you want, and so I think right now BackerKit does BackerKit, IGG, and Kickstarter. But you can take, if you can export your list from other places, you can dump it into there.
Right.
However, then it doesn't really segment them as good as, if you're doing it in your own emails. But yeah, BackerKit Launch. So your whatever campaigns you've done through IGG, Kickstarter, and BackerKit.
All right, I think it's so much. There's so many different avenues, and it's like sometimes you just got to pick one.
That's just it.
That's a part of it. Is I'm spreading myself thin, and maybe I have something here, but I'm not looking. Like maybe I have a fish that's biting here, but if you have too many lines, so that's why.
We're not flies, man. We don't have all those different like weird little visuals of everything going on.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Vaughn, did that help?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of specifics that are helpful, and it's just showing that I kind of know, and there is not a hidden trick, but it's also that here are some bonus points to do it. Yeah.
Some
No, free
non-trick
comic book
tricks.
day. I'm going to this con that is a con the same day as free comic book day. I'm like, are you kidding me? Someone offered
Free
for free
Comic
comic
Book
book day.
still happening, considering that like Diamond's in the situation that it's in.
I guess someone else has
They
to pick up
said
the
they're still
slack.
doing it, man.
Yeah, everyone I know says it's still going, but we'll see.
Listen,
This is where indie creators step up.
I'm looking for. I'm hoping to see previews in my comic shop tomorrow. I'm buying. These are the last few. I kept last month's and the one before that. So
Let's go Wednesday Warriors.
Hold on to it because there might not be any more after this.
Oh shit. All right. So thank you, Vaughn. We hope that helped. Deece, you are up, good sir. What is your topic and issue that you would like us to help workshop for you, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask everyone what they're about conventions. Been doing a ton of conventions. What other creators' kind of metric of success they consider with conventions as far as sales numbers, networking, etc., and how people are choosing which ones to attend, weighing cost to return on investment, etc. I've had a lot of there's a lot of conventions that overlap across the country, and some are smaller and close to me, and some are big and far away. So it's kind of gotten me thinking about what am I really trying to get out of this? And what's everyone looking for out of convention? What's your metric of success for one?
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Deece before we get into the suggestions or what we do?
I mean, I'm just getting started with convention, so I think I'll take it back. If I think of anything,
I'm in the same boat as Vaughn.
Fair.
I've done 3. I mean, I've tabled at I've helped out people with selling.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you like stuff to do that's helped me because I've done well at the conventions I've done so far.
Okay. JD, do you have anything before we jump in? Because I know you and I probably have the most experience then when it comes to.
So, okay. Now, when you say they're far from you, have you mapped out an area around you that you're driving? Like how far are you willing to go out? 200 miles, 400 miles?
I mean, I'm in Texas and looking at stuff like, looking at Baltimore even. I mean, I'm not, geographically speaking is not really a problem. Luckily, I'm in an advantageous situation where basically I can just book my comedy tour to where I want to do conventions at.
Nice.
So I'm kind of been doing that was to make at least I can double down on a weekend basically.
That's a serious tax write-off right there.
Yeah. Can I write off double mileage for that?
Yeah. If you incorporate 2 different businesses, yes.
I just happen to have that. But I mean, distance isn't really a problem. I'm just like, for instance, there was one I was looking at that was on the East Coast also, and it was more expensive. It was going to be 3 days of drive-in there for the weekend, then 3 days back. And then I found a convention same weekend, 3 hours for me in Texas. It's one night. I drive over, stay one night, drive home, and it third of the cost for the table. Small convention, but I'm like, I don't really care about the size of the convention. I care about how many people I'm getting it in their hands,
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, the metric of success as far as sales numbers, what's people consider a good weekend. I suppose that's different at different conventions and stuff, but yeah, just kind of how they weigh that out.
Gotcha. The other question I have is, so I mean, have you spoken to promoters to try to get free tables? Have you ever tried that?
No, I guess the only thing I've and this has been, we're still in the works with some stuff, but I've been hitting up some and offering them like a free comedy show for all the some of them do after parties on Saturday night. So I'm like, hey, I'll do like a free comedy event for whoever wants to come to the party or wants to gets to come to this special event you got.
I mean,
But otherwise, no, I haven't really done the free table thing. I guess I wouldn't even know how to go about that, to be honest.
yeah, if you can, I would imagine if you could come up with a good, I don't know, whatever time limit a skit is, but if you're like a good 30-minute set of just geek comic book, you know what I mean, nerd
Yeah.
filled stuff, because I've never seen your routine. So I mean, I would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you came up with something like that, I think you'd kill.
I think it's like I wanted to start doing the bigger stuff, but right now, like what I've been doing is doing cheap local cons near, or just local cons near me. Forget about that. Like in New Jersey, and so far I've only done 3, but I've turned a profit every time. So, granted, I haven't done any like crazy ones where we fly on a plane and pay higher for a hotel, because like I'll be like, oh, these ones I know, if I know I can make money, you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to also be a salesman. That's the thing too. Like I learned that because I used to table with Michael Golden. So I'd be like, hey, holding up the thing, bringing people over to the table. So I learned that kind of carnival barker kind of deal. And luckily I had experience with that. So like, that's definitely part of it. There are a lot of really talented creators that expect people to come up, and some people do, but it's not like the actively selling is, those people tend to make the most.
Yeah, I'm a stand for 8 hours guy and talk to everyone.
Good. Then you'll do well.
That's after a weekend of that, I am
Sleep hard.
Yeah, my back hurts.
What I guess one more question, or 2 more questions, I guess, before we really move on to the suggestions. So you have the one book that you're taking, right? What else? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, 1 book, 4 covers.
Okay. What, besides the book and the variants, what are you filling your table with to kind of help with table costs?
We've got original art that were prints we do, and we do pretty well with those too. So yeah, a bunch of original art that's kind of inspired by the feelings the book should evoke,
Right.
Artistic interpretation.
Yeah. Abstract interpretations of the message of the book.
Okay. Yeah, JD, do you want to start, or you want me to go ahead and start throwing out my thoughts?
Well, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So because you're still kind of very much at the beginning, I think as far as like when I was back in the day with single issue going to cons, this was so I wasn't breaking even quite so at that point, but the fact that like, my first con, I took 100 copies and only came home with 4, left. I felt that was a great metric.
Yeah.
So starting out small like that, and then kind of growing, and the more books you have, the more you're able to cover your costs. So I think initially selling as many copies of that issue 1 to try and cover your trip and break even is like the goal at this level. If you don't, that doesn't mean you did poorly, but like if you're dropping like 100 to like 200 books, per con, that's amazing. You know what I mean? Especially for somebody with just an issue 1. If you are like, and you're selling the artwork, you said the prints, that's all good stuff, because the more merchandise you have on your table, the more you're covering stuff. So, again, I think that starting metric is good to have, but then you move the goal, right? So with each book you have, you want to move that metric higher and higher.
Yeah.
Carrot in front of the donkey.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right, yeah. And, in networking, that's, I've had great shows where I've sold a ton, but there wasn't really anybody to network with. And then I've had I had shitty sales shows, but great networking shows that I had then several cover artists for my next book.
Yeah, networking. I mean, people don't like even if you can't get a table there, networking alone is one of the most important, arguably the most important thing you can do. I'm willing to give a chance on a book that wouldn't appeal to me otherwise if I like the person who's selling it to me.
Yeah, so I would say definitely, that when it comes to, like I said, when you're leveling up, you want to keep moving that bar.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're slinging, 100 books or close to 100 books, that's a good sign, especially at smaller cons. I would say if you want to try and like save money, as far as like maybe like start like kind of like build your radius, like start from the center and kind of work your way out to do the long traveling, but you have the benefit of being able to do the farther ones because of your comedy stand-up stuff. Whereas most people don't. So I guess this one's more for like, the people starting out there, start in a small radius and then work your way out. Like at this point, like in my career, I have 9 issues of Nightwolf, 2 trades of it, 3 issues of Snowpaw, a children's book, plush dolls. I've gone as far as Chattanooga, which is like 12 hours. I've gone as far as Boston, which is 10, been all the way to like Chicago, Baltimore, you know what I mean? Like I've been within like a 12, like the farthest, like I said, is 12-hour drive for me.
Yeah.
Plane wise, I got too much shit, so I ain't flying. But it's one of those things where it's like I started hitting everywhere as far close as I could until it started having to spread out. Because really, cons are more of a marketing tool right now for anybody starting out. Even at my level, I don't see it as a moneymaker. Even so, I'm buying 2 tables. I'm breaking even for my trips.
Yeah,
like that includes the 2 tables. That includes the food, hotel, gas, right? So for me, that's expensive shit. But I have a lot of stuff. But when I started out in your level, I was still at that So I kept pushing the bar so that I could have all that stuff, 2 tables. You know what I mean? Like I said, I see it as a marketing tool. So for me, if I'm building, are you collecting emails? That's something you should be doing at every con. Any sale, you should be collecting emails. And if you didn't take a sale, give them a card with your website, with your socials on it. You know what I mean? A place for them to go and sign up. Say, I don't have the money for right now. I just spent all my money on Jason Momoa. Well, you know what? That's cool. I got a card for you. Hit this website up. I'll give you a free digital copy. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
We've been doing giveaways to get on the Instagram because that's where I have the biggest following and get the most retention, and get a lot of organic traffic. Actually, is on my Instagram. So I've been doing we have like we make little bookmarks or keychains and like give them away if someone scans on the Instagram. So that's been a huge, just building that following. And I do a lot of direct marketing through Instagram messaging to those people too. So, which
is good, but I know you have an email list. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I do.
You want to keep building that. Think about it this way. If Instagram were somehow to crash and be completely gone, like Facebook did that one day, especially in the middle of a campaign, what are you going to do? Right. You want to make sure you are building your own mountain. You have your own website, your own email list that you're able to rely on and build that, because you want to be able to stand tall in your own mountain while sprinkling on everybody else's platforms, right? You want to have your own castle, your own kingdom, be master of your own domain.
Easy, Jerry.
But yeah, so that again, like I said, I think as you're moving your metrics, I think you're doing pretty well for now. Like I said, if you don't have a good sales day, try and walk around, meet new creators. We talk, right? At cons, we talk about what we do. You can see what they're doing at their tables. You can, say, hey, you should try this convention. You should try this. We're doing this. You know what I mean? That networking is definitely a key thing.
Yeah. And the interesting with the networking thing is that you'll find that you're going to find a lot of people that are not in this space, right? Like we're in this space and we know a lot of people that are in this space, but when you go to actual shows, you're gonna find a lot of people that you're like, I don't know any of these people.
Yeah,
right. But you'll see 200 or 300 indie creators, and you're like, who the hell are these people? And you never see them in this space, right? So it's like, where do they come from? How are they funding? How are they making their books? Like I said, how are they financing their books? And these are different venues. Like you can find out. I talk to some guys, and they're like, oh, I only sell on Amazon. Or, I only sell from my website, or I only do shows, or, just to hear the different stories of how everybody goes about that process. Mm-hmm. I've always found it really interesting and fascinating. It's just like, you just go through it and be like, all right, cool.
Yeah. one of the things about the indie scene I notice is so many people, they'll be like, huh, never thought of that. Or just looking at the way someone's like, when I'm laying out my table, I'll be like, when I was first setting up, I'm like looking at Instagram pictures my friends set up with their tables. I'm like, oh, that's what, okay. Oh, I've never heard of that. Okay.
Right.
You know, why can't I fit enough books here? But okay, he has a stand. I'd never, you know, and so that kind of stuff helps. Or they're like, yeah, you know, I tried this. Like, even there's not it forces us to experiment.
Right.
And the different size of the tables too. It's always shifting. Okay, how can I best present this?
Yeah.
And I think the real ugly truth of it is that conventions probably, I mean, there's some dudes who make money, right?
Yeah.
Most don't.
Right.
Most don't break even. Most don't make their table back. And if they make their table back, they still didn't break even because you got gas and other expenses. So you have to try to look at it for these other things, marketing and all that other stuff, and be sure, like you obviously have a business, so you can write it off. You're writing it off, and I always advise that to everybody. You know, if you have a business, you can write it off.
If you're an indie creator, you need to either be an LLC or an S corp, so you can write all that shit off.
Yeah, and I mean, but the ugly truth of it is that most guys on our level not making a lot of money, if any.
Yeah,
right. That's the ugly truth.
Yeah, like I haven't done any.
People will not admit to you. They'll be like, "Oh, we did great." You know how it is. Everybody's gonna put on the good face.
Everyone did great.
We made table, blah 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 blah. Bullshit. Right?
It's like a year after you're done high school and you meet everybody and everybody acts like they've got all their stuff together in life. Yeah. Oh, everything's great. You know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Right. But you want to look for the guy at the creator dinner who's the one. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll buy you a drink."
You're gonna have those guys. You're gonna have some people who are just killing it, right? Henri. I mean, that dude is like a sales monster. Like one day I gotta just check him out and see how he does it.
He doesn't just sell his books. Like he sells books. Like he has his show where he sells other big.
No, but I mean at conventions though.
Yeah, he takes those Comic-Con. Yeah, he takes those too. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, he has those. Plus, he takes so much of his, and then he brings a decent amount, but I mean, I bring enough that I don't sell out.
Right.
He brings enough so that he will sell out.
Right. No, I got you. And to be honest with you, you never really want to sell out. You want to get down to 3 because if you sell out, you're potentially missing sales.
Lost potential.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm like. I will bring everything and the kitchen sink. I don't care if I haven't sold it in the last 10 cons. If I don't bring it, sure enough, I would have sold it that time. There's been times where I'm like, oh shit, I had sold for once. Hello.
Too true. Too true.
That reminds me, I got a message on Bother Henri a little bit more.
Henri's a cool dude, man.
He's a great guy.
I've met him before. But
he's a great guy and he's a great resource. And he has people on his shows too. So if you ever want to get promote Henri campaign, or I can't exactly.
Campaign?
COMPAN.
Man, just type in Henri on.
I just typed in Henri. I'm like the next part.
Yeah, I was gonna say nobody.
I know that guy.
Yeah. So
he's a very good dude.
Yeah. Sorry for the hard truths there, but yeah.
No. I mean, it's it's just trying to figure out what people, how people look at them. Luckily, sales wise, we've been doing well at conventions. So, we've been able to, between the prints and the comic book, we've been able to. I think we made money every show, not a lot, but even after expenses, we're coming back and positive. But how to increase that, how to figure out which conventions are the good ones. I think the networking of talking to other creators, that's gotten me a lot of info on, like this one in Oklahoma. I only found out because of, I think she's in the chat here, Lori. She had told me about it at a convention in Dallas. She's like, oh, it's a good one. And then, we got so I'm like, sign up for that. Hearing from other creators who are telling you what they've had good experiences at is, or even, just ones you don't know of or don't hear about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
definitely hard to get to the good small ones too, like outside of your area. If you've never heard of it, you don't even know what to look
Right.
for.
Yeah. I've been trolling these different sites that have conventions and tell you where like states and dates. And I'm just, I'm just plugging in weekends.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
definitely a way to do it.
and I mean, locally, if you have a lot of schools and stuff, I mean, sometimes you'll find these small, like,
Not allowed near many schools, but
all right, well, how about libraries? There you go. Sometimes I have library conventions for one day.
yeah. Okay.
Those sometimes will be for free.
Horror conventions.
Books
for you?
sold at a
Yeah.
book place?
Horror conventions do you have to have horror stuff or no?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
For horror conventions, you definitely want to have horror stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
because I'm gonna have what I'm wondering is I'm gonna have a horror book soon. But can I have that and then also my comics?
You could, but don't I wouldn't have those like the main focus. You definitely want to have your horror stuff
like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to have your horror stuff up front. Like for me, like if I were to go to a horror con, Nightwolf would be the main focus back here, whereas like Snowpaw would be like, I'm probably not gonna, it's gonna be like over here.
I'll say there's a group here in San Antonio, Texas called Kings of Horror, and they run a show about every 6 weeks at this mall not far from me, and I do it. It's a collector's show, so it's mostly it's all collectible shit, and there's maybe 3 people that are selling, have like a long box or 2 of comic books. It's mostly Funko Pops and horror related stuff. I started going there if I'm home in a weekend, and I mean my comic book is not horror related at all, and I kill there.
But isn't it like violent and dark too? Like it's got a little...
I mean it's dark and it's got a dark.
It's horror adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, but I think what it is those people are also like, basically, I mean, I've done day markets where it's just like random like day market stuff where people are selling scented candles for their dogs and fucking
for their dogs,
just all kinds of crazy.
Smells like hot dogs.
If it's accessible and I'm like, oh hell, I'll try it. But I mean,
those are low cost too, like in general. So you're already probably like 2 books in, you're making a profit.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're very low cost, and also like they get a lot of traffic. And really, like my goal is I'm not trying to sell someone the book. I'm trying to sell them on why I love and wrote this book. And,
me too. Yeah,
that connection that I'm able to make with people, I think, is what really is able to get it for people at these horror things and stuff to buy it, because they're like, I give them the one-line pitch and they're like, oh, interesting, okay, and then they're a lot of them just want to support art. They're into cool different stuff.
Yeah, there are the ones like when you say, oh yeah, I self-publish, this is my first self-publish, people are like, oh, that's so cool,
interesting.
Except for when you're home, then they're like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, stop talking about it. We get it.
They're like, get a job, you bum.
Yeah, if I have one horror book, I got to find a way to make that work.
I like I said, man, I'd try even if you don't have a horror book yet, I'd give it a shot. I think like Rob said, a lot of the times those are really low cost too. I mean, I'm really of the mind now where if I'm have a free weekend and there's something where there's traffic that I can get a table at, I'll set up and see what I can do. And almost all of them have, pretty much actually all of them, I've been able to at least break even, if not make some money on them. So it's you'd be surprised, if you're just putting yourself out there with a good product, people will respond to it.
All right, cool.
All right. So, I mean, did we kind of answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, I just try, like I said, I just want to know what people, how they're deciding what they do and what they think is success to them, because sales wise, everyone's got a different budget on what they put into a show and their books and stuff, but it's like, how do you decide which one works? What's best? Do you do the one that people say is great marketing, or the ones with big. People say like, don't go to the ones with big stars because the people spend all their money on that, and all that.
Yeah. Bill Shatner is a show killer.
Chat on the show.
Yeah. Listen, all respect to Bill Shatner, but it's whenever I go to a
shitty Shat show.
Yeah. If the Shat's there, he's gonna Shat all over it.
All right,
Shat show.
Or at least on your sales.
Yeah.
They spent $500 on him. They're like, look, man, I don't got anything else.
Or
Nobody's going to listen to you at all.
Stay away from Jason Momoa shows.
Yeah.
I haven't been to one of those yet. So
he was a matter of fact. Luckily for me, that didn't affect me except for with one person.
Mm-hmm.
But that just because of that one person saying I spent all my money on Jason Momoa, that now is I use that as my example.
Gotcha. Now I use Bill Shatner because we used to go to Boston Comic-Con a lot, and then for 3 years straight we did great numbers, great everything, right? And and here's another thing you could do. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but we were cheap. So if you have family in the area, stay with your family. You know what I mean? Because my sister lived up there, so we would stay with her, and then we would go to the show, and we would just but then the 1 year he was there, we did terrible.
Yeah. I believe it.
Bill, and then we did another show in Washington, D.C., where it was same thing. Bill was there. No bueno.
Isn't that the movie in Goodfellas when they're betting on the horse Kryptonite? But it's like, if this guy bets on it, you never bet on that guy because it always loses. Let's go Kryptonite. Ah, darn! Everybody throws their tickets because they all bet on that guy already, or on that horse rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, hopefully that helped. So
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. All right, Rob.
All right. So Ray, what do you have for us, good sir?
Okay, I was asked to present a question. This hasn't necessarily been a problem for mine. I have experienced this, but I've never spoken about it with other creators. When I presented the question to JD, he put a laughing emoji onto it. I'm assuming you can relate to it, JD?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so
I put a laughing emoji on it. I can relate.
So this is more for JD then.
Well, this is just a general, because I mean, I'm sure everybody's come across this. You have an interior artist, they have the script, they improve the sequentials. So I say that diplomatically, and it forces you to alter your dialogue, be it the order or certain wording, or you know what, these guys are in the wrong position, so now the other person has to say it. Is anybody been through that? But more importantly, what's the most creative solution they've had to do for a scenario like that?
Yeah. Do we even need to ask any clarifying questions?
If anybody has any questions, let's give them a second.
I don't think. Yeah, no, I think that one's a very straightforward.
Very.
I mean, I guess sometimes I'll be like, oh, just shift this up to this panel. Yeah, I guess I'll be like, I'll take the script, because the script is a living document. That's something I learned, in screenwriting, and especially in comic book writing. I'm like, okay, this changes. So sometimes I'll just kind of move stuff around, and it almost sometimes makes me tighten up my dialogue more, because I'm like, I didn't need that. Yeah, you get the point. So I mean, I would just honestly, it sounds weird, but it's a case by case basis. So I guess just judge accordingly. If it's an improvement and you recognize it's an improvement, sometimes you have to kill your children. There was one line, there was one balloon. It's true, sometimes
this escalated quickly. How do you fix this problem? Slaughter your firstborn.
Casey Anthony would be great in comic books.
I mean, sometimes, there was one part in issue 1 where I remember there were 2 lines that I had to cut, where it's back, because I love writing dialogue, back, forth, back and forth. And it literally couldn't fit more dialogue on the balloon. And I was like, I do like this, but I'm like, well, we got the rest of it in this part of the exchange. Do we need this part? No, it added a little character, but I'm like, and sometimes when I'm reading it, I almost read that part. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not there. So I mean, sometimes you have to just go.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, I don't know how everyone formats their scripts, but I mean, I write pretty intricate scripts as far as how many panels, panel breakdown, how the panel should be laid out, where people are positioned in the panel, the point of view of the panel. I go so far as to send a lot of thumbnails, breakdowns, and stuff like that to my artists also. So I mean, I'm very meticulous and not quite as crazy as maybe Alan Moore. I don't say which way the wind is blowing and stuff like that. Like what flowers are blooming at that time, but I'm pretty intricate in the script. And my artist has given me suggestions at times that he thinks would work. And there's certainly times when I'm like, oh, adding this would be good, or this angle does work okay. But there's plenty of times where I've just said I think it's best if it's in the script. And just, it's at the end of the day, it's your project and you're paying them, man. So it needs to be how you want it to be. And there's diplomatic ways to say that, but I mean, the reality is it's yours. I mean, the worst part would be is paying for something you didn't, in a way you didn't want it, and then forever have to live like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've never had it to that level. The only times I've come across it, I actually liked it better, but it forced me to alter the dialogue just because of it. Just visually, it told the story better.
So yeah, I've kind of had similar experiences. So with Nightwolf, I've had 12 issues scripted for years. That script's been done technically since 2013. And we are up to issue 10 now. Over the last couple years working with my artist, Carlos, he's gotten all kind of bought in, he loves the project. And so he tries to think of better ways to visually represent things as well, which is great. The only time I really push back on it is if I have a vision for pacing. Especially when it comes to horror scenes, you kind of have to have a specific pacing. It's similar in movies, you have to have that pacing for that kind of a jump scare.
Right.
For the suspense, you kind of have to have that same kind of pacing for when you flip a page or something, most oftentimes, like I said, he improves it. There's occasionally where I'm like, or other times where I'm like, half the time because I'm the letterer as well for Nightwolf. So I go back and have to, because the script was done in 2013, right? So all those 12 issues, sometimes I go back and be like, ooh, that was bad. Let me rewrite that or make it better, because I'm way ahead of where I was back then. So half the time I'm like, maybe changing, tweaking, but mostly it's along the same lines. But when something changes dramatically, yes, I have to kind of either cut things out or reword it or shorten the dialogue. But sometimes it's also a blessing because it hits better. The pacing's a little better, when it comes to certain things like that. With Snowpaw, Mog Park is the artist on that. And my first issue of Snowpaw was her first sequential. So it was kind of a learning situation with her. One, for her, to do sequentials, and then two, for me to kind of explain why it's broken down like this. But like I said, there's oftentimes where I'm like, if you can make it better, go ahead. But if it doesn't go with the flow, there's a reason, and I push back. You know what I mean? For the most part, like I said, I have very, like Deece, I have a very descriptive laid out how everything is. And again, sometimes when they flip, in one panel they're one way, and then they have characters mixed in a different panel, like that. I'm like, gotta be consistent. You gotta go back and put them.
Yeah.
they're not floating.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to let stuff go, but there are times where I'm like, no.
Yeah. There's certain things, where you can just be like, oh, whatever.
But there were a couple times where I was going back and forth, and I would obsess over just things, and I'm like, it really bothered me that this one character who was fighting World War III didn't have a gun over, and I'm like, no, you know what? No, give him that gun. Give him the gun. And I kept going back and forth. I'm like, it's a small thing. Just draw that in, please.
It'll haunt you forever if you don't fix it.
Yeah, I was like, if I don't fix it, I was like, that strand on the hair is pink. It should be white. Fix it. It's bothering me.
There was so originally Nightwolf had a cross scar on his eyes, right? So like it was literally like a cross, and it was intended to be that way. And up until issue 3, it was there, and then Carlos kept trying not to draw it like from issue 4 on. So eventually, I was just like instead of telling him, I would put it in myself. Eventually, got to be the point where I'm like, you know what, it just healed, whatever.
He's a werewolf, right? So
it wore off. It just took a while.
But the reason it's scarred is because like it was cut by Silver, so like that was the only reason why it was scarred. But then at some point, I was like, you know what, it's just this line. He has like the main one, but like he doesn't have the across. At that point, I was like, whatever. I don't have time. Just do it.
Yeah. All right. I got a few instances. Right, early on in my career, when I first started this, forever ago, I worked with 3 artists, probably more, 4 or 5, but whatever. There was one artist. I gave him a script. We did a book called Reaver. Okay, it was pretty simple story, more or less. It was we had a main protagonist who was wronged. We had an antagonist. We had and then we had a police officer who was caught in the middle. Right, so we had a supernatural entity. A woman possesses a supernatural armor, goes after the person who wronged her, and we had the cop in the middle who also had his own personal problems. And I was exploring all of these different character types and all these different things. Okay, that's the basic script. We're going to run along with this. Then the artist decides to drop in a whole different character that had absolutely nothing to do with the story. Right in the middle of my story, and he hands me the pages, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" So I had to go and make an entire sub story of 2 separate factions, one representing science, one representing magic, and how this one science faction managed to steal like this demon thing and turn it into a science demon thing, and how these 2 star-crossed demon things wanted to get back together. And it was like, and
this escalated quickly.
This was a subtext. This was like just an extra subplot.
It sounds like its own comic, but it's just a sub story.
Right. It was just a subplot.
It's like I just have to explain what this stupid thing is here.
Right, but I mean, it was I grew up in the world of Chris Claremont, so there were a lot of subplots.
Oh my god, yeah, his boxes were like everywhere.
Right. So and I mean, I had to develop that story, right? So I went in and I did it, right? It was a pain in the ass. Now, here's the kicker with that. Tall Tales, which is one of the books that came out back then, I'm still working on to this day. Dreamweavers, I am re-releasing now, right? That book, I have very little interest in going and revisiting because of that. Right? Because here's the thing. Dreamweavers, I finished writing. I finished it as a novel, right? But now I'm coming back to it. I'm hopefully going to finish it as a comic book. But that particular book, the artwork is gorgeous. I would, just for the artwork alone, I would like to re-release it because it is really nice. But because of those subtext stories, the subplot stories, I'm just like, oh, it's like this. And what's funny is the artist came to me a few years later after we were done with it, because we only got like 3 issues into it, and he came to me and apologized. He's like, I know I fucked up your story.
I just did it anyways because your tears.
You guys, because I used to have my artists give me thumbnails for every page before I approve them and go. You guys don't do that?
Yeah, that's we
go step by step. Yeah,
like for me, it was never exactly a problem. I just had to massage the dialogue, if that makes sense. Like you see it in the thumbnails, I'm like, you know what, that is better. Okay, let's do that, and then I switch it out.
But you do the thumbnails first.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
JD, when you described that scenario of I'm just going to insert this character right away, my thoughts are: is it at least in the same theme? Like, is it a sentient bowl of spaghetti that flies around with magic, or can I actually make it work? Like
within the world, it looked like the character. If I were to show you the character, you'd be like, "Oh, that looks awesome," right? Like it's this demon mechanized thing called Blue Sin. gorgeous character.
But it had nothing to do with your story.
Exactly. He just wanted his character in the story. I'm like,
The kids' camp story featuring
Yeah,
Right.
the photo
Winston.
bomb is correct. Yeah,
Right.
Sarah had it
I
right.
mean, all right. So there's that instance. Another time when I was while I was working professionally in comics for P Anime, my artist Matthew, we had already worked on a number of comics together, like Dreamweavers. That was the books we did. We'd done like 4 or 5 issues of that, and we had done a lot of other stuff that never got printed. What he would do to my scripts is I was contracted to write 6 24-page comics. I would hand in those scripts. I would break them down page by page, and I would hand that in. Matt would get those scripts and hand in a 30 or 32-page comic, because Matt would be like, "Oh, I want a splash page. I want a double splash page." And the publisher, they were so enamored with his art, they just let him get away with it. They were just like, "Yeah, sure," they didn't care. But here was the really good part, though. If they took my 24-page script to a 32-page story, they had to pay me for those extra 8 pages because I was already paid for those 24 pages. They'd have to pay. So I would just be like, "Thank you, man." An extra $500 in my pocket or whatever it was at the time. So that worked out. The other thing that happens is with my current artist, Jade, like you guys say that you guys get thumbnails and stuff. I haven't gotten a thumbnail from Jade in like at least 10 years. She just draws. I hand her a script and I told her, like, I've worked with her almost, I think, going on 14 years. So it's been so long, I've forgotten how long I've worked with her. That's how long it's been. So I trust her so intrinsically, like, that I'm like, just go for it. Right? Do I always get what I want? No. But I always get something that's good or better than what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference.
And
Someday I
sometimes
would like to get to that
it's
level.
like it's better just to let it go than keep picking at it, because you're like, I just need my energy to move forward.
Right. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I've been all over the spectrum when it comes down to that stuff. But when I work with newer guys, they send me layouts. Like I'm working with one guy currently, and what he likes to do is deconstruct the script. So he's very manga influenced. So a scene that I feel should have only taken 10 pages might be spread over 25, because he's letting that scene, breathe, right? So it's like huge, like these really massive scenes. They look gorgeous, but I had to put my foot down and be like, bro, we have at least 5 pages of talking. Make it 5 pages, right? And save all that stuff for the big fights. They're going to be some really big ones. So I'm like, save it for that. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. So I've been we've been making some headroom. So it's good, but he's, the guy's fantastic. So,
Yeah,
I think
that's one thing that, like, especially new to sequential artists, like, they want to like show what they can do for like moods and this and that, but like really you got to think about it for like what's really going to be the big bang, what you want to have that big real estate, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, you have to, because also the thing is that you got to remember you're in a creative partnership, right? Like I understand like the way Deece does a script, you're the boss, right? You're paying for it. That's you. I'm a little bit more free flow, loosey goosey with it because I work with enough people, and my thing is always this is like, you see the script, make sure everything that's in that script gets in there, right? Every line of dialogue has to be spoken. Okay. But I'll let you do your own pacing. I'll let you lay it out however you want to lay it out. You understand? And that's your contribution to the creative end of it. Right. So, because for me, I'm like that, panel 1, page 1, 3/4 worm's eye, I could do it, but I would be eating my keyboard like after the fifth page.
Yeah, there's only so much of that I can do. I'm still figuring out.
I write my scripts very much like that, but I like when I'm writing, I'm visualizing it in my head like it's playing a movie.
Yeah.
Or a cartoon. So like I'm already like I'm camera angling it, man. I'm like
right. I got you. I'm pretty much the same way. But here's the thing though, is like, because here's the problem. If I put all that effort into it and I don't get it, I'm gonna be
then you're gonna be pissed. That's
right.
one of the things I'm learning going forward is I'm like,
right.
I need to, like, I'm looking at older drafts and I would put more angles in, and sometimes I find myself going, let them do their thing.
Like Magi's Grace #1 with C, all free flowing except one page. I said, listen, I want a 9-panel grid on this one page, and I want this in this panel, and I described out exactly this in this panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, panel 5, and it's exactly how I want it done. And he did it. But the rest of the issue, I was like, go bonkers. And he did. So sometimes, like I said, you got to give that little bit of latitude, you know? So as a creator, because like I said, I feel it's a shared process, you know, like when it comes down to like design stuff, and I'm doing an insane fantasy book. So, you know, design is important, and I just let her go crazy. So
I think that's something too. Like I keep trying to push like on and with like Mog, like Carlos, I don't have to worry about him when it comes to design. He just he crushes it, right? Mm-hmm. With Mog, I'm like, I have to remind her that this just isn't a 19th century England thing. It's also like this particular area is all fantasy. Go crazy. Mm-hmm. You don't just have straight up line and architecture. You know, like I want to see fantasy bullshit.
Right.
Yeah. I want to see bridges crafted from mushrooms.
I want to see over the top. I want to see elves making elven things and dwarves making dwarven things and such.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that helped any. Ray.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers that. I just wanted to hear other people reflect on it. That's all. Which I think I got
we
what
all
I wanted.
Experienced a little bit that.
Yeah.
All right. So look, I'm gonna pull up everybody's campaigns.
All right.
I'm not gonna play any videos, but we're gonna just do a quick pitch, run through them real quick. You know, because we just got a few minutes left, so we're gonna do that real quick. But everybody gets a shot, and we got the Phenomenova.
Yeah. So Phenomenova, we're one backer away from 50, and I'm hoping we can hit 10K before we across all the campaigns. For the record, we're past 7,000. So Phenomenova is basically done. I noticed my editor noticed like a lettering error, so we're having that fixed because we want it to be perfect. But it is a 24-page superhero story set 20 years after World War III and follows our main character who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal. And now, after failing to strike out on his own with his lightning powers, he is now being trained by one of the veteran superheroes who fought during the war. And now he has to really go down to the core of who he is and find out why he wants to be a superhero, why he wants to put his life on the line while meeting some new friends along the way. It's a training issue, but it's also we dive deeper into some characters' backstory and expand a bit on the lore.
All right, cool. Looks good. I mean, like you said, you how many? All right, you got 16 days. I think you can make it where you want to get to.
All right.
Yeah, looking good.
Let's hope so.
Nice. No, I don't think you're gonna have an issue. You put out a quality book.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kill Stan. Deece, what do we got?
Hey, this is Kill Stan #2. This book is kind of a neo-noir thriller, crime thriller. It's about a guy who wants to end his own life, so he decides to do it through vigilantism. Really, it's more of a character piece about his personal journey of loss, trauma, and the crazy things we do when we feel like we have nothing left to live for. The crime thriller aspect is just a sneaky delivery system to make someone read something that's more in depth than that. We're about $500 away from the goal. We've got a week left, so I'm confident we'll make it. But yeah, we've got some cool variant covers, some exclusive stuff just for the Kickstarter backers, and it's been going well so far.
All right.
Deece, I have two thoughts that come to mind when you
Yep.
pitch this. The first one is it's very reminiscent to me of Mel Gibson's character from Lethal Weapon, Riggs,
Okay.
especially in the first one.
Mhm.
Just if you got nothing to lose, you're probably going to be really good at doing things like vigilantism. And then the other one is comedians always, it's interesting seeing the contrast of funny versus dark.
Yeah.
It's very appealing when I look at that and hear you explain it. That's really, really neat.
Yeah, it's everyone keeps asking me like, "Oh, is this a comedy?" I'm like, "No, there's humor in it, injected. There's humorous moments injected into it, more gallows humor and for levity as opposed to like a straight up comedy. It gets a little quippy at times and things. But it's fast paced, especially the first few issues. I was writing them with the word relentless in mind. I wanted them to just really make you feel like your heart rate elevated at the end of it. They move kind of like Rob said in the way we set up the panels and stuff. Kind of wanted it to be very cinematic and movie like when you read it also.
All right, cool. Looks good. I mean, you got what, another 7 days?
Yep, 7 days or about $500 out.
All right. I don't think, like I said again, I don't think you're gonna have an issue making that. So,
Yeah, I think we're gonna be good.
Yeah.
So
all right, cool. Then we got okay. This is what happens when you wake up too early in the morning. Okay.
Are you a Nighthawk, JD?
Normally, but
know.
I have this thing called a job. So,
I can respect that. So this is the pre-launch for the Mad Caps issue number 2. You can also, during this campaign, purchase issue 1. This is a 3-issue miniseries. The whole thing takes place over one night. It's about 4 childhood friends meet up at their hometown. They're going to leave for a job, but before they can, there's a local outbreak involving the undead. After helping the local guards and barely surviving, staving off this outbreak, they conclude that a local drug issue has something to do with this outbreak. So issue 2 goes into, it picks up right after or right where issue 1 leaves off. They intercept some smugglers and they're led to a place of a distribution hub. And I don't have the main page here. That's one of the 4 friends there. That's Madrakis. In the full image of that cover, it shows him actually pulling some earth upward using some arcane ability, which is really, really cool. All of my covers have something to do with a scene inside the comic book, but issue number 2 focuses on where is this stuff coming from, and issue number 3 it hits hard. Issue 1 and 2 definitely have action in it, and it has I mean, JD, you read it, you can attest for that. It's got some highs, it's got some pacing of dialogue, but I save all the really, really good stuff as the issues progress. Issue number 2 has a lot of tension, and it's the level of tension. None of these guys are warriors. Like that fella there, he wears ceremonial armor. It reflects his culture. However, they're going into a place that's, if you're going to be dealing with illegal stuff and you're at a facility, you're going to have some hired muscle, we'll put it that way. These 4 who are not really warriors or mercenaries or anything like that, they actually have a discussion in issue 2. Are we biting off more than we can chew? Should we just walk away and let the local authorities deal with this? And I've already mentioned tension, and I can't really say too much more about that, but every issue that progresses, everything in regards to impact and action escalates accordingly. So by the time we get to this last issue, it's going to be a huge payoff, and I promise you guys are going to enjoy it. If you could just click on that follow link on the pre-launch here, and you would definitely be helping sway this project's algorithm in our favor. It'd be really, really awesome. Really appreciate it.
all right, cool. And when are you looking to launch?
April.
All right, cool. Very nice.
April Fools, no pun intended.
April
I
1st.
launched my first campaign on April Fool's.
Yeah. Somebody, Tom Hutchinson, suggested that the video just for the first day should just be a Rickroll.
No book for you. It's a scam.
Tom went back just because of that.
Yeah.
I'll put the funding goal to $1. Funded in 30 seconds. I fund it myself.
Even better. They back the book and they're waiting for. It's like the joke was the campaign. You're not getting anything. Put the money in Rand.
And I'm not getting any repeat backers either. Thanks, Fish.
Never gonna.
Well, so who's the joke? The joke's on everyone then.
Yeah. Thanks, Fish.
All right. So, gentlemen, we made it to the 1.5 hour mark, which was cool. Thank you so much. You guys are all awesome. Let's start with, well, we'll go clockwise again. Vaughn, where can they find you and your work, sir?
So you could find me on RebelOasisStudios.com. You could also find me on Global Comics. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Everywhere you go, you'll be able to find me. You can also find me on YouTube. I do shorts there. I do videos. I do live streams. I do it all. So follow me on whatever platform. Join my email list on my website. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, cool. Deece, where can they find you?
You can find the comic book at inferno.earth on most platforms. That's inferno.earth on Instagram, inferno.earth on Facebook, and inferno.earth is also our website. There's no .com anymore. All the porn sites took all those. So .earth is the domain. You can buy, we do a lot of direct to consumer. So, if you missed number 1, you can buy it directly through us on the website, or you can hit me up directly. It's also available on the number 2 Kickstarter, but you can find me directly at Deece.comedy on most platforms, or Deece Casillas, spelled the Christian way, like in the Bible. Just look it up. Yeah, dirty heathens. You'll find it. That's it. Check out the book. Hit me up.
All right, cool. DM Ray.
For myself, you can find me as DM Ray on Facebook. DM is short for Dungeon Master. You can find the Madcaps Facebook page on there as well. I'm also on Instagram and Twixter under at Raymond the DM, because DM Ray was taken. And I think that's all I have of any significance. But the most important one is that pre-launch for Madcaps issue 2. Follow, and lots of hilarity and fun shall ensue.
All right, cool. Mr. Multari, where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, so you can find me, at Lone Wolf Comics on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, all the random new ones that just popped up. You can find me at Rob Multari at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Go to offer.lonewolfcomics.com to get your free copy of Nightwolf. Sign up for the email list. Do that for free instead of going to Facebook and finding it there so they can charge me. And lonewolfcomics.com is my website, and be sure to look for the next issue of Nightwolf coming out next month on Kickstarter.
All right, cool. And I'm JD Calderon. You can find me on theoswaldchronicles.com, talltalesonline.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, all those different places. And every other week here with my man right there, Mr. Rob Multari, Sunday nights with a Mad Cat group of other creators where we just talk indie comics and try not to yell and scream at each other with too much. But that tends to happen anyway.
I was going to say, Jay's always there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just remember, everybody, all these creators creating great books, fantastic books. Go check out the show notes. All their links are in those show notes. Go click on those links. Go buy their books, because these creators are like killing it right now. They're putting out fantastic books. They really deserve your help. They really deserve your sponsorship. And even more important, they really deserve for you to read their work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Read it now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
See you guys.